hear you. No, I hear you.
And if I do that, I guarantee you that that will get out, and people say, "Oh, Burris is doing a fundraiser," and then Rod and I are both going to catch hell. And if I do get appointed, that means I bought it. If I don't get appointed, then the people who I'm trying to raise money from are going to look at me and say, you know, what was that all about, Roland? I mean, so Rob, I'm in a dilemma right now, wanting to help the governor.
It just seems, Senator, like you're covering yourself in that beginning of that comment, and then you're getting to the point of squeezing the guy, saying, buddy, if I raise you this money, I better well get the seat. Because I don't know how else to read it. I'm in a dilemma if you don't deliver the job. It's you're saying it here.
I had no intention of raising any money for the governor. I told my partners that because I could not raise any money for the governor. That's why I had that conversation. I did want to help the governor. Please understand. I'd raise money for not only the governor, but for all other kind of candidates. I'd raise money for a whole lot of other candidates. But this here was a situation where there was a seat involved, and I couldn't raise any money because if I did, it would look like I was trying to buy the seat. So that's what I always said, that I could not raise any funds because it would be a situation where I was, trying to get some type of a quid pro quo, and therefore I could not do it, and I did not do it. I didn't even make a phone call to raise any money. There were no attempts to raise any money, and I didn't even send a check after I had said I would send my normal $1,000 to them. After I hung up that phone, I said to myself, well, I can't even send a check because that would be mistaken as some type of a way I'm trying to buy the seat. So I didn't even send a check.
Why did you promise him to go to your law partner and have him, or rather Tim Wright, hold a fundraiser in his name so that you could get political credit for it? Why'd you do that? Was that to cover the evidence?
No, see, that comment was that, in his name, it should have been in his name, and that's what Tim had said already to me, that he couldn't run a fundraiser, and I was just placating the governor's brother with that type of a statement, knowing that we could not do anything. That was just a
well, I just want to read you back your words. And my law partner, we're going to try to do something at the law firm. I might be able to do this in the name of Tim Wright. In other words, covering up your role. Why would you use the phrase "in the name of" if this was on the level?
It should have been. It should have been. What I was saying is, and this is what I was telling the other officials when they looked at this, that this was a way I was placating the governor, but I was seeking that Tim Wright would send out if he wasn't going to do it. So he would send out the invitations. Tim would put on the fundraiser. But Tim had already said...
Was he? Did you have the intention of holding a fundraiser at your law firm?
Absolutely not.
So you were bluffing. You were bluffing. You were telling the governor's brother you're going to give him something you weren't going to give him.
Well, I'd already said up above that I couldn't raise any funds for him. So that
well, what do you mean when you say you're going to... I don't want to drive this any further. One last time, Senator, you said you're going to use your partner's name in their law firm to hold a fundraiser. Did you intend at the time you said this to Rod Blagojevich that you intended to hold a fundraiser in the name of Tim Wright or not? Did you intend to hold a fundraiser?
I did not.
Okay, so you were lying. You were lying to the governor's brother.
I did not intend to hold a fundraiser for the governor's brother. We were seeking to placate the governor's brother because at that time it was my intention not to alienate the governor's brother. That's all.
So your legal and political defense is that you weren't telling the truth to the governor's brother when you promised to hold a fundraiser for him. That's your legal and political defense, that you weren't telling the truth.
Well, I was seeking to placate him because there was no way we were going to hold a fundraiser, nor did we hold a fundraiser, nor was there any effort to even give a fundraiser. There was, after that telephone conversation, Chris, nothing took place. Absolutely nothing, because
well, here's the context.
We had come to the conclusion that that I could not raise any money, and nobody in my law firm or in the consulting firm was going to raise any money. We were going to raise any money.
Here's what I think is troubling. You start the conversation, and I appreciate you giving me this exclusive conversation tonight, because I've always liked you as a public official, and I think you've had some real guts here. But this is very troubling. Quote, I know you're calling to tell me you're going to make me a king of the world. That's the first thing you say to Rod Blagojevich. In other words, you're going to make me the senator. You're going to tell me the good news. And then he starts asking for money. And all this about fundraising and how you're going to give him a personal check and you're going to set this thing up for your law partner. Then he talks about the 18 fundraising events he's going to have. And you say, well, I can join in one of those events too. So you're offering more money. Then you're saying, number one, I want to help the governor, your brother. And number two, I want this job. You're laying in the quid pro pro quo so clearly. It seems to me you're making it awful clear you want the job, you want to help him raise money, and that is play to pay, isn't it?
Chris, go back up to that statement where I said I cannot give you any money because I'm interested in getting appointed to the Senate seat.
Right. That was you didn't want to be caught doing it, is what you're saying.
No. Because I didn't. I even told my partners that. I told my law partners.
Okay, if it wasn't about appearances, Senator, then why did you go to... Okay, you give 3 indications that it is about appearances. When you talk about appearances, and then you say your real concern is that your money people are going to be disappointed that you went out and hit them up for money, but you didn't get the Senate seat. Then you talk about wiring the money through your law partner. Then you talk about making a personal contribution. Then you talk about coming back and hitting in some of these fundraisers that they're holding and giving them further money. Then you lay down the quid pro quo rather directly saying, 1, I want to help your brother. 2, I want this job. I mean, you're laying it in there so clearly. It's very hard not to see the deal here.
Chris, there was no deal. That's what I was seeking to avoid. There was no deal. I knew that I could not do anything because of the potential of a quid pro quo. That's why I didn't do anything. I mean,
but the last thing you said on the phone was...
Not even knowing that this was taped. Hold on a minute, Chris. Not even knowing that this was being taped or anything else, I had the foresight to say, even to my partners, look, I can't give any money to the governor. It'll be looking like I'm trying to buy this seat. And therefore, I didn't. That's the bottom line. Nothing was ever transpired. Nothing was ever given. Nor was there any attempt to make a phone call.
I don't know how this is going to get down in court. I do know that you promised the governor's brother that you'd raise money through your law firm, through the name of your partner, Tim Wright. You're now telling me that wasn't the truth. You weren't. You did not even at the moment you said that intended to raise the money. That was just to quote, as you put it, placate him. But at the end of your conversation, the last thing you said to the governor's brother last fall was, and I will personally do something, okay? So you're again committing yourself to a personal contribution in addition to the attempt you now say was just BS, basically, that you never intended to raise the money through the law firm, and you promised to go to the fundraisers, some of the 18 fundraisers he was holding, and what else? And you were concerned at the appearances. That's clear. You were worried about exposure here.
And the other issue was at the last, when I said I would send my check by December 15th, was the fact that I had promised him in our second conversation that I'd give him $1,000 in June, and I was planning to send $1,000. Now, Chris, if I could buy the Senate seat for $1,000, I think that would be, pretty miraculous. My sending a check by the 15th would have been a $1,000 check. After I hung up the phone, my assessment was I can't do that, and I didn't do that. I did not send the check.
Last question, Senator. What do you think the average Joe out there in Chicago thinks after hearing that you were getting hit up by the governor's brother for money and you were promising the rate? No. What do you think he thinks happened here? Do you think the average person in Chicago, as much moxie as they have, think what was on here was a fiddle, that there was a deal